You know, at the end of the day, I am sure Jack Murphy was sitting there thinking, God, I wish someone would do something stupid so people can stop paying attention to me and pay attention to them instead. And Ethan Klein turned around and said, hold my beer. So Ethan Klein has come out and said that Joe Rogan, who lives off elk meat, what's wrong with that? I don't even understand why that's a thing. Why are people who live off elk meat, why is that a bad thing? Sounds like a pretty good diet, if you ask me. Elk meat, egg yolk, and human growth hormones with lung full of tar, thinks he's healthier than anyone. He didn't say anyone. That's not what Joe Rogan said. This MFR is such a something that when he got COVID, he threw the kitchen sink at it. If you're so healthy, write it out like you say you should, a man should. That's not what Joe Rogan said. So, for example, the problem here is that Ethan Klein has gone through and has totally misrepresented what Joe Rogan was talking about. And yes, I know this is the second video for the day. Surprise, you get an extra video. Basically, what Ethan Klein is representing here, or trying to represent, is Joe Rogan was talking about people who go through and get COVID, and that the COVID morbidities, if you've got like 3 or more, you have a serious risk of catching COVID and getting hospitalized, and one of those morbidities is obesity. Right? So that's what he's saying around saying. He's saying that, you know, that if you're obese, for example, that your risks of COVID is drastically increased. So at the end of the day, that is, and basically this is the same stuff that the CDC has literally said, by the way. So if you're arguing or disagreeing with what Joe Rogan has said, you're also disagreeing with Fauci, the CDC, medical doctors, and everything along those lines. As for Joe chucking the kitchen sink at it, he got over COVID in 3 days because he chucked the kitchen sink at it. Right? Now, at the end of the day, he's not against the vaccines. I believe he's already turned around and said the only reason he's not getting the vaccine is because of the fact that he's already had COVID. He's got natural immunity, so he doesn't need it. Right? Makes sense. Same as me. Now, at the end of the day, he's then turning around basically, and he said, if you want to get the vaccine, go get it. He said, you know, in fact, people that have got these mobilities, these like obesity and stuff like that, they should get the vaccine. He's actually encouraged that. So at the end of the day, he's just basically turning around saying that for people that don't have these mobilities and people that are generally fit and healthy, if they don't want to get it, they shouldn't be forced to get it. That's basically what he said. And Ethan has obviously tried to turn that around because Ethan's fighting for relevance. Now, obviously, he's also wrote, dude has caused so much vaccine hesitancy information, he doesn't even have the bees to stand up to the stuff he's preached. Now he's on his show talking about how fat people should just die of COVID. Not what he said. Not what he said at all. I'd love to see the clip for that. Dude is such a piece of S. Instead of getting vaccinated, he takes Regeneron, an experimental drug that was developed alongside the mRNA vaccines. His logic makes no sense, and then credits ivermectin, which does nothing for COVID, far as you know. And you're not a doctor, by the way. By the way, instead of getting vaccine, he takes Regeneron. He didn't take the vaccine because he's already got the antibodies from getting COVID. He doesn't need the vaccine because he has those antibodies because he's already had COVID. Natural immunity is actually better than you get from the vax. Not to mention whatever is in alpha brain. Meanwhile, while Joe is on the big pharma conspiracy against vaccines, someone needs to ask him who makes ivermectin and Regeneron. This is such a stupid argument because ivermectin, for example, is literally not held by a patent anymore. They can make ivermectin for like $1 a pack. There is a vast difference between what the drug companies make for profit when it comes to ivermectin as opposed to what drug companies make for profit when it comes to the new drug, which is basically ivermectin 2.0, or what they get for the vaccines, which are very heavily government subsidized. But guess what? The government has to buy it, so the drug company is still getting their money. In fact, the drug company this year, financial records, made $33 billion. Not a bad day, not a bad year's profit. By the way, just to give you an example, the whole of the music industry only made $12 billion. The drug company, or the company that makes the vax that you're so willing to push, almost made 3 times the profit of the music industry in entirety, just by the profits that they made from one drug. Just to keep that in mind, by the way. And then, of course, he's absolutely getting ratioed in the comment section below. So, who is Ethe Klein? Well, obviously, Ethe Klein is the owner of the H3H3 podcast. And this is where people are starting to point out some basic fundamental flaws when it comes to Ethe Klein. Because that's Joe Rogan. That's Ethe Klein. Now look, I'm not one to talk about body shape, right? I don't look anything like Joe Rogan. But at the end of the day, I'm not the one sitting here going on about how Joe Rogan is filling himself up with alpha, big brain, and eating elk meat. By the way, maybe I should take the elk meat. I don't know. It's just saying. There is a vast difference when it comes to between the two body shapes. Now, at the end of the day, I think this photo here in itself is actually flattering when it comes to Ethe Klein, because he's actually a lot fatter than he looks. There is Ethe Klein with the second chin, which a lot of people have. Admittedly, if you're looking down, you look down, you get another chin, sort of stuff. I get that. There is a photo that is of Ethe Klein, and there's a photo of Joe Rogan. There's a lot of tats. I never noticed that before. That's cool. I like those. Alright, so, and then obviously Ethe Klein. So you can see what some people might be pointing out. Health expert Ethe Klein. Here's another photo of Ethe Klein. Here's a photo of Joe Rogan, mind you, who's, by the way, 57. Ethan's like 30-something. Someone says ew to that. I reckon Joe looks in amazing shape. But, yeah. Yeah, I reckon Joe looks fantastic for his age. That's Ethe Klein. Obviously, he's leaning over. He's going to look bigger, sure. But, there's your health expert, Ethe Klein, everybody. Sure. And this is what basically, like, for example, the King of Gnomes has said himself. Keemstar has come out and said that Ethe Klein is questioning if Joe Rogan is healthy. Ethe Klein is aged 36. Joe Rogan is aged 54. And then he's put a photo of Ethe Klein looking like a pink flamingo. And Joe Rogan. If I had to pick which one I would rather be, I know it's going to be a tough choice, everybody, but I might have to pick Joe Rogan. Because he looks fucking amazing. Although he does look like he might have skipped leg day a little bit. But at the end of the day, yeah, Joe Rogan looks in phenomenal shape. And I know people are going to sit there and go, he takes testosterone every day and stuff like that. He takes it, I believe, for aging, he believes. And look, at the end of the day, whatever he does, it's entirely up to him. I think at the end of the day, the fact that the reason why Joe looks like this is not because he takes testosterone, or because he eats elk meat, or because he eats egg yolks, but because he does all that, plus trains like a mother effer. He's still very active. He still is doing things like, for example, he's UFC, or he's commentating for UFC. I believe he still does that. But he trains all the photos you're seeing of Joe Rogan here is literally him in a gym. Like, there's a gym in the background there, right? There's another one that's him with literally a body bag. You know, there's Joe Rogan here with boxing gloves on and what looks like boxing mats and stuff in the background. You know, like here, Jim, same photo, but him like with Jim in the background. So, you know, at the end of the day, yeah, this is why Joe Rogan looks amazing, is because, yeah, he spends time going to the gym and working out, which is what I need to go and do right now, actually. So I'm going to wrap this up. But at the end of the day, yeah, there's a reason why Joe looks fantastic, and it's because he sits there, he eats the elk meat, he sits there, he eats the egg yolks, yes, he sits there and he takes testosterone shots every day, and yes, he also works hard working out every day. And he looks like this, and you really can't talk Ethe Klein. But let's face it, the reason why he's doing it is because he's jealous, right? He's jealous that Joe Rogan has this amazing podcast and that he's not spouting the views that Ethe Klein believes. And that in itself is so arrogant. Because you're literally saying that someone should change their views to match yours because you're right. That's the subconscious version of it. And that in itself is just arrogant as. But guys, let us know what your thoughts are in that comment section below. But yeah, at the end of the day, as for Joe Rogan versus Ethe Klein, Ethan, dude, you're getting ratioed, and people are just posting photos of you looking like this. Like, just stop. Can we go back to Jack Murphy and laughing at him, please? But let us know what your thoughts are in that comment section below. Obviously, this video has been helpful. Please smack that like button. If you're new to the channel, welcome and subscribe. Apart from that, guys, we'll see you in the next demonetized video from YouTube. Have a great night. Enjoy yourself. I'm going to go hit the gym. Try and look like Joe Rogan. See you, everybody.